Well, hello. This video here is going to be about running the Explore Scientific iEXOS 100 mount with mainly, I'm going to go with Carte du Ciel, but I'm also going to try Stellarium. But I have to start by getting the ASCOM platform. And this is it's specifically for astronomy. It's free. It's a .org. It's ASCOM-standards.org. So we go there and we'll download this platform, which I've already downloaded. And this here is what you get, and I've already installed it. So that's the application. It's 43 megabytes. And when you install that, it gives you this diagnostics and this profile explorer. And basically, these help you make sure that everything downloaded and installed correctly. You can set up all the connections and everything with your mount and all your other stuff, and you can troubleshoot with that. Once you're up and running, normally this stuff the ASCOM just runs in the background. So we download that and install it, and then we need to get a driver for our mount. So we'll click this go to page, and I've already done it, and I go to this tab right here. And this takes you to the driver downloads. And over here on the left, you can see they've got drivers for just about anything to do with astronomy. So if someone had a complete observatory building with a dome that rotates and shutter doors that open and all that, they can control it using this. In my case, I'm going to go down here to telescope mount. When I click on that, we'll go to this next tab, and we have all the telescope mount drivers. And it has lots of different brands. And we'll go all the way down to Explore Scientific's PMC8 mount controller. So this works for several different Explore Scientific and Losmandy for that matter. So then when we click Visit Site, it actually takes us to the Explore Scientific USA site, to their downloads page. And we'll have to scroll down a ways. If you watched my other video, you saw that I got the Explore Stars app and got that up and going. And it also has the firmware configuration tool so that you can update the firmware on the mount. And I already did that. And then we have this software installation kit, which mentions the firmware. I'm wondering if that's the one I think I had to do both. This one here is a configuration tool. So I think I had to download both because I did this a week or two ago. So since right now my goal is to set up the ASCOM on this particular computer. And so I won't need to actually update the mount. But I did download this installation kit. And it is right here. I've already unzipped it. And there's several different files in here, and a lot of this was for the firmware update. But in my case, I wanted this ASCOM set up, and I ran that, and that installed the driver for the Explore Scientific iEXOS mount 100. So once you have your ASCOM stuff all installed, then you need a program to control your mount. Now I've been using Ciel. As you can see, I've got Stellarium's web page up here. I'm going to download it. It's pretty popular. A lot of people use it, and people use the other one too. So I've already downloaded it, and let's see. I haven't installed it yet. But yeah, it's up here. It's 351 megabytes, it looks like. And it says it works for Linux and Mac and Windows. But ASCOM, from what I can tell, is Windows only. So if you were trying to do this with a Linux or Mac computer, you might have a problem getting a driver to control the mount. And that's pretty much a all-in-one download. So that's one thing that's nice about Stellarium. You just download the program and it has everything. And I downloaded a version for my phone too. And I don't try to control anything with the phone, but sometimes I just want to take a look and see what's up in the sky, and it's kind of nice for that. So then here's Ciel, which I got into using this a long time ago, and I had downloaded Stellarium and played with it, and it was nice, but I was just used to this program, and I really liked it, so I didn't switch. But I'll show you their page, and you can just Google the Ciel, and it'll bring you up to their download page. And it's got the basic program here. So you download that and install it, and then if you want more stars and galaxies and things like that to show up on your map, you can download additional catalogs. So if you do happen to download Ciel and you want to add some of the additional star catalogs, which I did, of course you go into, you can, usually these here, what they do is you unzip the files and then you have to place them in the correct location. So inside program files, you'll find one that just says Ciel, C-I-E-L. We'll open that up. And it has a folder named Cat for catalogs. And after I downloaded the additional star catalog and like a deep sky one for some more galaxies and things like that, I just unzipped them into my download folder and then dragged them over here into this cat folder. And that way it could find them. And you might also have to do some configuration in there if it doesn't find them. So I did this catalog here. It goes up to magnitude 12. I didn't bother with this UCAC. I downloaded something similar to this a long time ago, and it gave me a zillion stars, but if you accidentally had them trying to show you every single star, it just looked like practically solid blob of stars, and it slowed the program way down. So it's really only for if you zoom into a really small area, but it's there if you want it. And then there's even more stars here on this GAIA. And again, those get really big. Wow, 34 gigabytes. You gotta really be a diehard if you want all those. This DSO catalog is nice. This is a bunch of deep sky objects, galaxies and such that aren't already included in the basic program if you decide you want to see even more. and then you can download pictures and have it show you pictures of objects as well. So once I make sure I've got everything downloaded and installed, I will connect this up to the mount, and I'm supposed to be able to do it both wirelessly and by wire with ASCOM, so that'll be interesting since this particular mount is built-in wireless. That's kind of neat, so I'll check that out and try both ways, and we'll go from there. So now I've got ASCOM installed, as well as Stellarium and SkyChart, which is Carte du Ciel. And let's see, we need to go into diagnostics here on the ASCOM. It's got two of them. So it's going to ask me if I want to allow it to make changes, and I'm going to say sure, why not? And it'll open up here in a second. Now, the very first time you do anything, you tell it to run diagnostics. We'll go ahead and click it here. I've already done this once. And it's scanning for everything. And this could take several minutes. I'll go ahead and pause and then show it to you. It should come up with no errors. Well, that didn't take too awful long, and it says congratulations, all functions tests passed. So that means that everything installed properly. Now I've got my mount connected by way of a USB cable, and it's powered on. Let's see if we can choose a device. And we want it to be telescope. We'll click choose. And now we come down here and we have to push the properties button here to get this set up. Okay, I guess on this one I haven't set this to terahertz yet here. So we'll go 39 degrees north. '87 west. Just sort of ignore these fractions. This is it's approximate. And we'll go say 200 meters. And I've got a German equatorial mount. I'm not worrying about which telescope it is. It had a default one in there. Now I want to, there we go. This is what I was wanting to collect. So I got ES for Explore Scientific. PMC8 is the software or firmware that is built into the mount. Now we'll go into properties on it. That other one was actually on a simulator, I believe. And I'm going to click Enable Serial Port, which means I'm doing it by wire. I already tried this on another computer a few days back, and I was able to do it by wire connection just fine, but when I tried to go Wi-Fi, maybe that's where that Windows 10 error came up. Looks like it only wants to offer me one on COM port, and the default speed of 115,200 is already in there. Matter of fact, it says down here 115,200 is the only valid value. So we'll click OK. And click OK. Let's click Connect. See if it can find it. And let's see, connecting to device, it does say there's an error. I'm not sure if I could have the USB connected to the wrong USB port. I'll play with it and I will get it figured out. I've had this before just on a different computer. Okay, well, it looks like I finally got this straightened out. See if it's still straightened out. When I, right here's my, in the device manager, USB serial port, and I've got it on COM6. This is the mount. And when I first was trying to do this, I had installed everything, and it showed this USB serial port up here in other devices, along with this base system device, which I'm not sure what it is. I don't know if that has anything to do with ASCOM or if that's just been there. But it had the little yellow triangle with the exclamation point in it, and I couldn't seem to do anything. And finally I right-clicked on it and hit update driver, and I had tried finding the driver on my computer, which I knew was there. It wouldn't do it. So I went and re-downloaded the driver, still wouldn't work. So then I told it, well, look on Windows Update after I connected to the internet, and it actually updated it. And I went over here to this ASCOM Diagnostics. This one right here, ASCOM Diagnostics, opened it up. Went to choose device, and it says 32-bit because this particular computer has a 32-bit operating system. My other one is 64-bit. So now I've got select device type, telescope, that's what I want. You can see you've got a choice of several. And so telescope is any mount, anything that you can control like that. Go to choose. And I don't want the simulator, that's just simply a simulation. I want the ES Explore Scientific PMC8 telescope. We'll go ahead and get properties. And I had to select COM6. It was blank, but it had one, which is just something that was already on the computer built in, some kind of communications port. Then I made sure I had an enable serial port selected. And you can do wireless as well here. Because see, right now I already have Explorer Stars set up. I didn't have to get into this ASCOM stuff with it. And this might be where there's an issue in Windows 10 as far as the wireless connection. We'll find out since I finally got it. My other computer, I could do it by wire on serial port, but not by Wi-Fi, at least for things like Carte du Ciel. And I'm also going to try, what's that other one? Stellarium, which I have them both installed now. And I've already connected here a minute ago to Carte du Ciel by wire. And then site data. This actually, I think this is listing the location of Explorer Scientific in Arkansas. I thought I'd already changed this. I changed it, I think, in the other software, in Carte du Ciel. So it thinks I'm in one place, and apparently this thinks I'm in another, so you could get some conflicts there. And I haven't messed with the telescope aperture, and the elevation. I'm going to go ahead and set it at 200 meters. I'm about 600 feet above sea level. And we'll just click OK. And we'll click OK again since we've adjusted the properties. Now hopefully Connect will actually work without an error. Yes. I don't know if I recorded this part before the screen. I thought I did, but I may have trashed it. It said down here it had an error and couldn't find it. So it wasn't, it said something about, one time it did say driver not installed. It had all kinds of weird errors, but it was an error. And here everything's normal. It says connected, connecting to device, gives me the name of my driver here for PMC8 being the system that's built into the Explore Scientific iEXOS 100 mount and their other mounts, and also on at least a Losman DG11 and I think a Titan too. So those are expensive ones, but they've also got it included here. So I'm going to just kick that off, and hopefully when I close that, that disconnects. I'll hit exit to make sure. And let's go ahead and bring up, Cartier du Ciel. I already had it turned on. And let me make it to where you can see my menu a little bit. There, I've kind of brought that down there. You see Cartier du Ciel. And I'm going to pause to try to get that whole thing in the screen. Okay. So now we've got the whole thing in here so you can see more of what's going on. The telescope, I'm going to select Connect Telescope. And I'm going to go ahead and I've already selected before, it's got the correct one here. The ASCOM ESPMC8. And if you hit Configure, you get this same menu we had up earlier. And I'm going to go down here and hit Connect, and hopefully these red boxes turn green in a second. One of them has, and I got to click Unpark because I already parked the mount, which basically means you send it back to its home position and then it stops tracking. So I'm going to select tracking as well. So I've got all three things green, which is really good news. It means I'm connected, I'm not parked, which means I can do something, move around, and I'm tracking, so it'll actually track the stars. And let's see here, I'll go to Track Telescope. And what this does is tells you where the telescope is pointed. Now you can see I've got these boxes. Those are for different telephoto lenses with my DSLR, the Nikon D50. So I'll go ahead and give you a little view of that, what's going on. And I'm actually thinking maybe I'll make a video sometime of just Cartier du Ciel and maybe one of Stellarium and, kind of compare them. So let's just say we've got a 300mm lens. And it's telling me that I've got a little over 4 degrees wide. If you figure 60 minutes per degree, that would give you 240. I've got 268, so that's a little more than that. And then 3 times 60 here would be 180, so I'm almost 3 degrees. So basically my field of view for that camera with that lens is about 3 degrees by 3 degrees in this direction and 4 degrees long. And I also got a little red circle in there that you might be able to see, and right in the center. And I did that also in that same thing, just under eyepieces. I just made a tiny one. So let's just say we're going someplace. Who's available? 101. Go ahead and hit about here. I right-clicked that. So now we'll click about, and this is one of the things when I show you Stellarium, its view here looks a little more sky-like. It's a little, this one here is a little more simple looking. And when you zoom in on the one on Stellarium, instead of showing a red circle out here, it would actually show an image. So I guess it's a matter of preference, and figure that this one may run a little bit faster. But if you put enough catalogs and stuff in here, it'll slow this way down. So it says my azimuth is 48 degrees, so that's to the north of east a ways. It's kind of in between, it's kind of right at northeast, 51 degrees above the horizon. We'll find it again. I'm going to right click again, and I'm going to go down here to telescope. I'm going to say slew M101. And I know I don't have it showing to you right now, and I'm indoors, but I'm looking across the room, and I can see my telescope running and hear the mount. And if you notice, here this little white box moved, and it left this other one here. That's kind of a oddball thing with this. Sometimes it'll end up showing the same box multiple times. Okay, I figured out that double image there on the red box was caused by a setting. So here I went to setup and display, and I already showed you how I did the finder rectangle, which was the camera. That's how I got the 300mm lens and the DSLR Nikon D50. If I go over here to finder circle eyepiece, the little bitty circle, I just gave it 5 minutes, I believe it was, of arc. But mark center of chart, I had this checked, so that meant that it was putting a mark showing me where the middle of the chart was, and another mark showing me where the telescope was pointed. And that was causing confusion, so I just unchecked it, and that solved the problem. Now, while I'm thinking about it, one of the things you have to consider, at least with a German equatorial mount, or something with any kind of mount that you can or can't do, but like say I was pointed here, there's Polaris at A in the center, and I was just above it, and I slewed over here to M101 Galaxy. Now, of course, these lines here, this is your horizon, so I'm pointed, the telescope mount's pointed north. Now, I can't go to these items that are right underneath here, and the reason is because tripod legs are in the way. That's why you have slew limits in some things. I haven't been able to find anything like that for this setup. In my other mount, the Celestron AVX, it has a utility program by Celestron, and you can actually set that stuff in. And you can adjust it because you might have a real long telescope like a refractor, or you might have something really short. But if you were to imagine that this line's here are your tripod legs, you wouldn't be able to go down in there because you'd run into the mount. That's one little thing about carte du ciel, or carte du sol, however you say it. So there, I click center that. So this gives me an idea of how big M101 is supposed to be. And let's see, if I select it, it highlights it, so I can just click on this if I want, and it'll bring up this menu. Or I can also right click and hit about. It gives you gives you the picture and all kinds of information, which some of can be confusing. Confuses me too. Some people seem to know all of it. But now let's I'll disconnect from here and see if I can connect to Stellarium. I haven't done that one yet. Oh, and before I do that, I'm going to try it wirelessly. So I'm going to go to connect, and it gives me this message, and it pops it up. Now I'll go disconnect. So now I'm going to go up here and hit configure, and I'm going to change this to enable Wi-Fi, and I'm going to actually have to connect the Wi-Fi to this too, because I'll have to remember that I'm not connected to it. So I'll get that set up here in a sec. So I'll pause here and get my act together. Okay, so I've got my computer connected to there. Yeah. So we'll hit OK here and see if we can connect wirelessly. Nope. ASCOM driver reports an error. The connected party did not respond. Blah blah blah. I got something similar to this before I had the driver correctly set up when I was going by wire. We'll get away from that. And I'm going to go back to my configure here while I'm thinking about it. That's the one I'm going to probably usually use. And by the way, this does connect wirelessly to ExploreStars, which doesn't deal with ASCOM. So I'm not sure if there's some setting I can change, or if that's just tough luck. So we'll bring up Stellarium. I'll pause for a second while it loads. So I've been trying to figure out how to control this mount with Stellarium. Parte du Ciel, I got that working pretty easy. I just had to play with the driver, to get it actually installed properly and all that. But with Stellarium, and I thought, well, it's mainly me, and it still may be somewhat. It's kind of an oddball. So I Googled, or Binged, whatever I'm supposed to call it, Stellarium and PMC8, and I got this, and it's actually on the part of the Explore Scientific stuff. Looks like it's the IO group for PMC8 and that. And it gives these instructions, but this is old news, and unfortunately it's obsolete. This is from September the 29th of 2020, so that's a little over 3 years ago. It tells you to download ASCOM 6.5 and make sure you install POTH, which I found out stands for plain old telescope handset. And the current version of ASCOM says that they have replaced POTH with a built-in device called Device Hub, and said you just use it instead. And I managed to get it to connect, but I still can't slew, so something's going on. But it also tells you to download something called Stellarium Scope, which is a controller for Stellarium, which they say you no longer need. But anyway, I wasn't getting anywhere with that. I will do a little quickie here. Connection. So I'll just show you at least here. So I go down here and click on the telescope down here, and it says there's no active devices. So I go to configure, and I've already got one configured here, and I'll show you what it is too. So I selected ASCOM, and I've just left the name at New Telescope 1. And then under Choose, this has kind of a drop-down menu. And I checked the ASCOM ESP-MC8, which is this device. You can add field of view indicators, which don't show up unless I'm using the virtual telescope. And I've got, these are in degrees. So I have 1, 2, and then 4. So it gives me a 1 degree circle, a 2 degree circle, and a 4 degree circle. And you can also make it automatically start up connect the telescope when you start the software. So I'll just click OK, and now I'm going to click Connect. And it says connecting, and as far as I know, that means it's actually supposedly connected, because I've seen that same message before in ASCOM actually, and it was connected. But then I run into an issue of does the telescope or the computer, does Stellarium even know where the telescope's pointed, which I've got it in the parked position, which is with the telescope up and the counterweight's down. And I'll bring on there's an equatorial grid, so you can see there in the center is your north celestial pole. And so you don't actually point centered, at least on Polaris, because it's going around this circle. And since my telescope's up here, if I tell it that I'm pointed at Polaris, I'll turn off those lines, they're kind of distracting. I can tell it I'm pointed here. I can click current object, and it updated the right ascension and deck. But if it actually believes it's there when it's here, it could run into the mount when I move it. And plus, it doesn't have slew limits, which neither does Ciel, now that I mention it. With my old Celestron AVX mount, I can use the Celestron software and actually set limits to prevent it from running the telescope into the tripod legs. But it doesn't give me any kind of reticle there. And when I did hit slew, like if I told it just to go to a nearby star, hit current object again, it updates. It should slew to the east. I click slew. My telescope's not moving. I know you can't hear it. I've got it connected. So basically, I'm kind of giving up on Stellarium. I'm tired of fighting with it. I don't need to. So I will go back to Ciel, and I'm going to be using it.